in Tower Defense Simulator, you normally would want to get as many coins as possible to then get stronger towers, to then be able to tackle harder modes, to get even more coins, to get even stronger towers. But what if someone did it differently? What if I decided to tackle all game modes with the bare minimum? How much firepower do I really need to be either Molten or Intermediate or Easy? Do you really need turrets? Golden minigunners? Minigunners in general? Who knows? So, in this video, we will be testing to see what is the bare minimum amount of towers you will need to beat all 4 main game modes. Basically, what the rules are is we want to spend the least amount of coins / gems as possible, as well as also keeping the level requirement, aka level blocks, as well as avoiding using loadouts that require 5 tower slots. That forces you to at least have level 15. And if you want to see more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And with that out of the way, on to the video. Yes, you only need 1 tower to beat this mode. It's the free tower you get at the beginning of the game, the Scout. And while it may only do a small 5 damage, and has a pretty okay DPS of 16, it actually really shreds all the enemies, from small enemies to big bosses, and because it has no placement limit, which means you can get 40 of them, each of those doing 5 damage, each with a DPS of 16, so it can actually really shred all types of enemies faster than I initially thought it did, and when I got to the final wave, it dealt just... Alrighty, so I don't know what I was thinking while I was writing that script, because, as you can clearly tell, we did not struggle at all with killing him. I guess I just did better than we thought we did. But we still killed him, and I call that a success. But I'm gonna be honest, this is kind of pathetic. Before, this mode used to be impossible without high level towers. See, when easy mode used to be called normal mode, when there was only 3 modes, Normal, Molten, and Fallen, Normal was much harder than Molten due to the lack of money it gave you, the shorter time you had to defend, and the amount of stuff it threw at you in a short amount of time. Maybe pathetic, this is good, as it shows that the TDS devs have really balanced out the game, because now you don't need a minigunner, commander, farm, and all these crazy towers to beat normal mode. All you need is just a scout, head into a game, and you win. It is a free 150 coins, which is great for early game grinding and can help a lot in getting the towers you'll need for some of the later modes that will be coming up. Now on to Molten mode. While Molten mode may only be the 2nd easiest mode in the game, scouts are not enough to kill the Molten boss, with its giant health increase from 15,000 to 70,000 HP. I needed another long-range tower that has a decent fire rate, range, and damage, which would be the Sniper. The 2nd free tower you get when you start the game has 40 damage, 2 fire rate, and a very long range. And since it also doesn't have a placement limit, and I was only limited by the amount of cliff space I had on the map, I was able to easily deal with the tankier enemies even quicker than just with the scout. And as we got to wave 40, we finally killed... Before we finally were able to kill the Molten boss, and now finally be able to move on to Intermediate mode. Which, since the last 2 modes weren't that hard, I'm sure Intermediate won't be nearly as bad. Right? So I knew heading into Intermediate mode was going to be much harder, not only because of the final boss's 100,000 HP, but also the enemies were much stronger and in much higher numbers than they were before. So I knew scouts and snipers could not win this alone. So to save my time, I subbed him out for the soldier, as he was still a pretty cheap tower, while also having a lot more DPS than the scout. But I also kept the sniper, and it still was able to help me deal with the larger enemies that came up, as well as getting me out of a few tight situations that may have cost me the game if I didn't have it. But then to also deal with the mass amount of enemies intermediate mode likes to send at you, I also got the Demo Man, as it does more damage than the sniper, it has a little bit of a faster fire rate, and does splash damage. So hopping into the first match, I was a little nervous because of the fact that I have failed on this mode with much stronger towers in the past. But I forgot that not too long ago, intermediate mode was just rebalanced and did not remember any of the changes they actually did, nor knew. But what I can say is that this mode feels much easier than it originally was because I used much stronger towers before this and lost. So it was kind of odd to me. And after a few close calls and a part where I should have probably died to this enemy, but I didn't, only because of my health being higher than normal due to my level, and if I was a lower level I would have probably died, but I decided to keep on going because I just wasn't going to restart the game over this, as I was able to prevent leaks for the rest of the game, so I wasn't just going to quit after that. So pressing on to wave 30, I 100% knew I would lose, because I did not believe that the towers I had could do 100,000 damage. But to my genuine surprise, we managed to get him to 13,000 HP before he killed us. I was absolutely shocked by this. I was expecting to do pretty bad originally, and then not only was I able to beat all the waves and get to the last wave, but I also did 87,000 damage with 3 towers. I knew it was possible. It was a very close call, and I just needed a tiny bit more damage. So I got another tower with way more damage to kill him. The Hunter. The Hunter may only have a placement limit of 12, but with the recent rework, its damage was upgraded to 120. That was the damage I needed to get the edge over Patient Zero. But now back to the game where I actually won. I was trying to spam out all 12 hunters as quickly as possible before the final wave so I could get as much long-range damage as I could against Patient Zero. But this hurt the amount of soldiers I could place down on the map, as the hunter was a very expensive tower. And seeing how weak my hunters still were, because I didn't max all of them by the time Patient Zero came out, I was actually very nervous that he would just stun spam me or heal himself too much before I was able to do enough damage. But with pure luck on my side, I did it. I killed Patient Zero with just starter towers. Literally, only the towers in the starter section were able to kill this man. I felt so accomplished by this and was blown away on how such cheap towers could just kill him so easily too. Okay, maybe easily is a little bit of an overstatement. Now I was really excited to see how I can beat Fallen mode with the cheapest loadout, as because of the new rework, it is much harder now than it originally was, and it requires much stronger towers, but I had a feeling maybe I wouldn't need those. You might want to take a seat for this, as this is going to take a while. So, all that previous optimism I had going into those first 3 modes is gone. Fallen mode, the final mode I had to tackle, which was the hardest mode, would be the hardest part of this challenge, due to the fact that it had a bunch of new enemies with new abilities, like aggro, where enemies would lock onto that one enemy no matter where it's at on the lane, which let other enemies get ahead of it. Some enemies were bloated, which gave them double their original HP. Some enemies were nimble, which made them even faster. And then you also had the Fallen Jesters, which made everything bloated and nimble. So I knew that I would have to bring much stronger towers with way more DPS. But I decided to keep the same loadout, but I subbed out the soldiers for Militant, as they had way more DPS. than the soldier, and hopped into my first game. And I think I did pretty well. Had a few leaks, but we dealt with them. Even the scary fallen shield boss was also killed pretty quickly, and everything was pretty good until I got to wave 30. When the newly reworked tank enemy, now named the Fallen Tank, broke through my defenses, instantly killing me. And that made me realize I would need a lot more DPS than I had initially. So I swapped out the Militant for the Crook boss, as it had much more DPS than the Militant, but you could only get 6 of them. And I also decided that maybe if I got more max hunters with their 120 damage, I might have been able to kill enemies easier. So as I hop back into another game, I get back to wave 30 and I lost. Okay. Maybe I don't need Croak Boss, but maybe I can use Ace Pilot, which doesn't require level 30 to get, and just requires coins, and it does a little less DPS and does splash damage, so I don't need the Demo Man to deal with the hordes. And also I decided to switch to the Crossroads map, as with that little circle in the center of the map was able to help me utilize the full strength of the Ace Pilot. Hopping into this new game, I did worse. That's fine. Maybe I just need some more max level hunters. One thing to mention is that these are not all the games I've played. I tried so many times before in between these attempts, and I just didn't record it because I wanted to wait until I got more progress, and also didn't want 50 videos that are like 20 to 30 minutes of me getting to the exact same place dying and then just having to restart. And I thought it was a waste of space, but a lot more calmed down now. I realized that was a bad idea.
Oh no!
And so this is when I already started to go a little off the edge, you could say, as I started to kind of stretch the limits of this challenge by getting the military base, the shotgunner, and the crook boss, which were very expensive and had a level requirement. But in my anger and frustration, I didn't even realize that I didn't have a main DPS tower that doesn't have a set placement limit and has long range to be able to deal with most of the enemies or even the Fallen King, the final boss. So I kinda knew this match was over before it even started, but I still tried it anyway, as I was not gonna put this to waste and wanted to see how it would do initially anyway. And I did it! I killed the Fallen Tank. I was so excited. I was like, this is it! This is the run I can finally! And I die on wave 31. Because there was 3 jesters throwing their little gift bombs at the giants, doubling their HP, making them faster, and my towers could not do enough damage to kill them all, and I died. Now normally, at this part, you might say, oh, remember this wave as it's gonna be very important to a key issue I may run into later, because I might, discover a quick fix and be able to move on. But no! Every single game, I get to wave 31, and I just lose. It was so annoying and frustrating. Every day, I got home, and I tried out different strategies, and I lost, and I lost, and I lost. Until I realized something. If I am using Crook Boss, which requires you to either be level 30, or for you to spend your money on it, which I'm assuming you haven't, and assuming you are level 30, which means you are over level 15, which means you have unlocked your 5th tower slot. So I decided that I was going to use the 5th tower slot, and this is the loadout I came up with. The farm, Crook Boss, Hunter, military base, and sniper. Yes, the sniper was making its return, as testing it, even with all these high health enemies, since there is no placement limit and I can get so many of them, they are able to deal with large hordes of small, weak enemies easily, and when they all focus on big troops, they also deal with them easily. So, using this loadout, I head back into another game. I get to wave 31, and this time with a lot of max snipers and max railgun tanks with 1,500 HP and a very high DPS, and I beat the wave. Yes, that worked. The max tanks were able to utilize their high DPS along with their ramming damage, along with the snipers doing 40 damage every 2 seconds, was able to help me kill the giants and the jesters. And with this loadout, I was able to get all the way to wave 39. One wave before the Fallen King. And I was genuinely hyped. The hypeness was back. I was so excited to be able to finally be able to beat this mode. On wave 39, the Fallen Guardian came out, and I sadly could not kill them in time before they got to my base. But this was a morale boost for me, as I now could use this strategy to try to get back to that wave on deleted recordings. But I ran into a problem, as I needed a tower that could kill the Fallen Guardians with a ton of range and a ton of damage. The Ranger, which on max level does 1000 damage. So bringing it into a game, when I started upgrading those Rangers, giving them their high damage, they started destroying everything. But when I started maxing them, they may have gotten that super high damage, but they got a fire rate of 7 seconds. Mind you, the biggest fire rate in the game. But since it had a range of 58, it could cover the whole map. And the map I was playing on, Fungi Island, was a great map for the Ranger, as it was a very long map with a ton of cliff space for me to use all of my Rangers. But on wave 39 again, while on the map best for the Ranger, a Jester was able to give a Fallen Guardian with 32,000 HP, bloated and nimble, which made it the speed of like a speedy enemy, which doesn't seem very fast, but for a big enemy like that, yes it is, especially for my Ranger's low fire rate, and doubling its health to 64,000 HP. The Rangers just did not have the DPS, and I specifically say DPS as they just could not shoot fast enough to kill it, and I ended up with the exact same result. So now I was stuck. I've been trying Fallen mode for so long and so many attempts that I was soon able to afford the Gatling gun. Not even the turret or the engineer could help me. This was supposed to be a fun challenge, but it turned into a week-long struggle to find out how I could possibly beat Fallen mode with the cheapest towers possible. And slowly my mental state was just deteriorating to just... So I kinda quit. I only say kinda because I still did it, but I in turn gave up because I decided to use the Golden Soldier, which was 50,000 coins, along with the DJ and Commander and the farm, as well as the Accelerator Tower, the tower with the most amount of DPS in the game. And even though Accelerator may only have a placement limit of 8, its sheer DPS was able to just destroy everything, and I specifically picked Golden Soldier as it's a cheap, very cheap tower in terms of, upgrading it. It is a very cheap, very strong flying detection, and also a lot of DPS as well, and combining that with DJ and Commander, I was able to kill the Fallen King. Now, am I happy that I'm done with this challenge? Yes. Am I satisfied with completing this challenge? No. I was genuinely excited to see if I could beat all of the modes with a cheap loadout. And maybe if I thought of this before the Fallen rework came out, I might have been able to do it. But sadly, I just didn't do anything, and now I'm kind of in a rush because the more time I spend working on this, the more updated TDS gets and the more out of date this gets. Just gonna let you know, I'm recording myself reading the script on the 11th of October. I started this challenge literally like almost a month ago, like the 10th, 11th of September. Like it's been over a month now. And easy mode is already super outdated. as they had remake that mode like 50 times already, after I just said that it seemed like a balanced mode. Should have gotten this out sooner so I could have shown the community that easy mode was actually very easy and didn't need a buff. But with that, this is where we part ways. I hope you enjoyed this project I've been working on for over a month now, which is why my upload schedule has kind of sucked, as I was kind of focusing on working on this video and not really focusing on getting videos out daily, which is why the upload schedule was kind of bad for a while, but now I am finally done. So I hope you got the answers you were expecting. Maybe you knew that Fallen mode was impossible and knew I wouldn't be able to beat it without a proper deck, as just me, myself, and I. Or maybe you genuinely expected to see me beat Fallen mode with some kind of cheaper loadout. Or maybe you were surprised by something else in this video. Whatever your opinion is, whatever you think of this video, I just hope that you enjoyed it. Comment down below any other challenges I should do, and what else you liked about this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and I'll catch you next time. Goodbye!